Welcome, everybody, to the Ever-Evolving Truth. Here we are again for the second time here today. We have Krista back with us. She has to hop off in a little bit to do something else, but also we have Wags with us for the first time today. Leah's in line trying to vote right now. She's going to try and check in about 5 minutes. We might have some other guests later on throughout this little segment here. Real quick, before we get into some of the things that we want to talk about during this segment, I just want to remind everybody, if you need a break from politics, go check out today's episode of the Ever-Evolving Truth. It is up. It's about Bill Cosby. It might not be much of a relief from politics. It's pretty depressing and disgusting. But also, we do have another episode, too, about movie villains, which is a little on the lighter side. So feel free to take a break and check those out. Otherwise, you can spend the day with us. We'll be here in and out all day, and we'll be doing some much longer segments later on tonight. Believe it or not, my fear was that there wouldn't be a whole lot to talk about throughout the day, like especially early on. But there is. I turned on the news for a second, and there's a ton of shit going on. The most important one to me, and I think a lot of our listeners, is what's happening in Pennsylvania, and it's a shit show. I just saw that this particular state, Pennsylvania, this is the first time that they've extended any sort of mail-in voting to all of its citizens. Before this, if you're not familiar with Pennsylvania, they had an absentee ballot program, as all states do. But this year, and fairly late in my opinion, they extended it to all the people. So you don't need to have a reason to want to vote by mail. Your only reason needs to be that you want to. Before, it had to be that you were in school, or you were overseas, or serving the military, or many different reasons, but certainly not just because you wanted to. And 3.5 people requested their mail-in ballot. And guess how many got returned?
How many?
I'm sorry, it was 3 million, like 3.2 million.
I was going to say.
I knew what you meant.
3.2 million people requested a mail-in ballot. Guess how many got returned in the mail? 2.5 million.
Wow.
So I've been saying this for a couple days now. If you know someone in Pennsylvania that is voting for the first time and wants to vote, you need to share this stream right now, or after it's over, and do them a favor, or at least tell them what I'm about to tell you. If you requested a mail-in ballot in Pennsylvania and you did not receive it, go to your polling place. You can still vote. You can fill out a provisional ballot. It is so important. I said it in the early segment that what we're seeing, the reason why we're seeing such big, long lines in Pennsylvania is because people are they got their mail-in ballot late, or they never got it to begin with, and they are being forced to go vote in person. My fear is that how many of these people are voting for the very first time? Certainly a large portion of them are voting by mail for the first time, or attempted to vote by mail for the first time. So they don't know the protocol when something goes wrong, and shit is going wrong. That's a big thing. Their mail-in ballots are getting returned. The other big thing is, I just saw on the news, a federal judge has ordered a sweep of all the postal centers that are trying to push through the mail ballots, and they're searching for ballots that have been returned by mail, filled out and returned by mail, and haven't made it to where it's supposed to go yet. This is insanity. This is what's going to end up getting challenged in the courts if these ballots don't get to where they need to go. This is scary shit, people. Scary shit. It's serious.
So I have a question, because I've never done an absentee ballot or the mail-in ballot. How are you able to check to confirm that your ballot was received? Is there a website you go to?
There is a website you go to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know the website in case someone else doesn't know?
Really quick.
It's somewhere on the pa.gov site, but there's probably a quicker way to get there. I'll let Krista find that. And Krista actually did successfully vote by mail. She received
and it did track it. So.
And it did track it. So there's a barcode. They check your signature. If you've done everything right, you put it in the fucking secrecy envelope. You have 900 envelopes to put it in. You got to sign it. It's got to match your signature. If all that stuff is successful, Then they scan the barcode, and it updates in the system.
Yeah. So if you go to votes, VOTESPA.com, it'll walk you through the whole process.
Okay, so
It's
that
not that
seems.
complicated.
I was gonna
Process
say.
makes it sound complicated. You click 3 buttons and you're good to go.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
In theory, it's supposed to work fine, and that when the mail works correctly and the ballots get to where they need to go to the people that requested them, and then those people are able to return them, and they then go through the mail system again and get to where they need to go. The system works great. The problem is they're not getting to where they need to go, whether it's to the people that requested them or the people that did get them, filled them out, and send them back. But
do you think that there will be people that, for whatever reason, didn't get their ballots and they're just like, screw it, like I'm not even gonna. Well, the system is against me already, so I'm not gonna even go and show up at my polling place to vote in person.
That is a big fear of mine. Yes.
Yeah.
Or they just believe that they won't be able to vote. So again, you can vote if you requested a mail-in ballot or an absentee ballot. If you did not receive it, or you filled it out and it was not received by your elections office, you can absolutely go and vote. If that ballot was not received and not marked received, you can go and vote. Go to your polling place, wait in line, wear your mask, be as safe as you can, and do that. So this also kind of speaks to what we were talking about a little bit on the earlier segment today. Hi, Leah. She's trying to get on. We'll see if it works. We're seeing long lines in Pennsylvania, and we're all excited about that. But in other areas of the country, as I was watching, the news briefly while I was eating lunch, the lines aren't as long. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be a large turnout. Like, for instance, Texas has over 10 million early votes cast already. That's more than the amount of people that voted in 2016 election. So there's a bigger turnout already.
Yeah,
and people are still going to the polls. It's just there's not a huge turnout today because of all the early voting. Florida, it's like they're at 95% of the total turnout already. So people are still turning out today. It's just not as many as we're seeing in Pennsylvania. So now that we know that there's a reason for such long lines in Pennsylvania, like I said, when I was at my polling place, I saw a lot of people surrendering their ballots, asking for provisional, that kind of stuff. So this is the real deal. This is actually happening. If you didn't receive it, I'll say it again. I'm going to sound like a broken record this whole segment. Go to your polling place. You can still vote. Don't let this stop you from voting. If you're a first-time voter, especially.
And I know Ben was one of them, my boyfriend, but he did a mail-in, asked for his mail-in vote, and he didn't hear anything, so he went online and did it online. And then within a week of doing that, he technically registered twice. But within a week of doing that, he got a letter saying, hey, buddy, you registered twice. We're getting rid of one of these. So just so you know. So people who are like, they're not checking, they're not on top of it, online versus mail, we witnessed them being on top of it. So if you do have a provincial ballot, that trumps, no pun intended, everything.
Right.
So it just overrules everything that you've put in otherwise. So, but you also need your mail-in ballot to prove that you didn't vote through mail-in. But if you did and you forgot or whatever, and you do the provincial ballot, it negates anything that you did beforehand.
Right. So even if, for instance, I had my physical mail-in ballot with me today, and I signed a paper, an affidavit that says I am surrendering my mail-in ballot, you can have it, and I can vote in person at the machine. If you never received your mail-in ballot, you can, if you don't have it physically in your possession, you would go there. You can't vote at the machine, but you can sign off that says I never received my mail-in ballot, whatever status it's at. It's not accurate. Whether if it's some reason recorded, you can contest that and say, look, that's not accurate. And you would, like Krista said, fill out a provisional ballot. It's by hand. You throw it in the secrecy envelope, and they take it to get counted later on tonight when they pack it up. So, like she said, that trumps the whatever happened with your mail-in ballot.
Yeah. So there's really no reason not to vote, people. There
Right.
are ways to get out there,
Even
and
in the last second, even if you were lazy, even if you said you wanted to wait until the last minute to question why you didn't get your ballot, you can still go out and vote. Don't not go.
looks like Leah's there now.
It does.
Or she's in line to get toilet paper.
Yeah, that's what I'm in line for. Like toilet paper. I'm sorry, I missed what you said. What was that?
Well, are you in line to vote right now, or
I'm in line to vote.
so you
It's
just got? You
huge. I
just
don't
got?
know.
Did you just get there?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
So when we signed off
I did.
at what was it, 12:40, and you were supposed to be right over there,
No,
you waited 2 more
well,
hours
I mean,
and then went.
of course. I was trying to figure out if I should wait because I was afraid like you guys would go live and I would be inside, and I didn't want that to happen, so I waited.
Oh.
Anyway, what do you see? You see it's a huge line. Do you know about how long it's going to take to get in there?
I can't really. I'm guessing at the very least it's going to be an hour. At the extreme least, it's wrapped around the building in the back parking lot, and it's not like people are definitely not too close together. But I think it's not 6 feet, so the line is people. There's a lot of people.
Yeah,
like a lot.
And everybody's wearing. Is everybody wearing a mask?
Just about. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really see anybody without them. I don't think most people are. Yeah, for sure.
Any poll watchers or any
I
voter
didn't see that.
intimidation?
No, nothing like that. I don't see anything like that. There's no police presence. I know that they were saying that some spaces were going to have that just to be safe, but I don't see any.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good.
Yeah.
Chris, I had to jump off. I'll be back on if we're still going at it. So I wanted to give an opportunity. The roller coaster of emotions that we're all going to feel. If you could just mute yourself because the wind is hitting your microphone when you're not talking. The roller coaster of emotions that we're going to be feeling and experiencing throughout the day. We want to make time to laugh a little bit when we can. And Wags shared a story with us about her little girl. Conversation they had this morning that I literally laughed out loud by myself when I read it. So I want to give Wags an opportunity to tell that story because it's fucking hilarious. This is great.
So luckily for me, my polling place is within walking distance. So I said we're going to make it a adventure and take the kids with me because why not? Like I have this incredible privilege and freedom to go out and not only to vote, but I can take my children with me. So I'm giving, okay, this is what you do because you don't know what you're going to see when you go up to the polling places, especially in current times. So I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I said, Charlie, she's 5. I said, Charlie, I said, we are going to go up and we're going to vote. And, I said, this is who mommy's voting for. And I said, but don't say that out loud. I said, let's just keep quiet until we're done. Because I'm like, I don't need to start a fight in the middle of that. But anyway, right. She's like, well, can I vote today? I was like, no, like you're only 5. You have to wait 13 more years. And she goes, well, I can't wait to vote for Joe Biden. And without thinking, I said, oh, by the time you can vote for Joe Biden, he's going to be dead. And she instantly started hysterically crying because she wanted to vote for Joe Biden. And I crushed her dreams and said, well, you can't, he's going to be dead.
Like how old is she right now again?
She's 5.
So in 13 years now, granted, Joe Biden's old, but there are people that have lived past 100 before. And Joe Biden is certainly in good health. He's, physically fit, he's got no telling ailments other than just being old and, has a stuttering issue at times that comes out every once in a while. So he perceivably could be alive when she votes.
He could
be. And you just assume that he's going to be dead.
I just killed him off before the day was even done. So hopefully he is. And you know what? Maybe things might be weird enough that he could be running for president at that time.
But yeah, like it's so simple that's a perfectly acceptable reason to lie to a 5-year-old. Be like, oh, all right, well, when you're 18, you can vote for Joe Biden. Because if he is alive, technically she could write him in if she wanted to.
Yeah, she couldn't at this. She may have to at this point. She's going to be so scarred. She was so upset that she wanted to vote for. What she really wanted was Kamala Harris because she thinks that a woman should be president. And I said, I absolutely agree. But yeah,
She could vote for she'll have to vote for Kamala. That's what Nina wants to vote for too, right?
yeah.
Well,
So, but I mean, the kids they're picking up on all of this, and that's like if anyone is really, in a heated debate with someone, or like me, I just said that out loud, and I probably shouldn't have said that to her, as funny as it is. But like our kids
I
are
just like how
watching
she
everything.
instantly started crying, like
I
she
don't
knew the consequences of what you just said. Like, well, he's going to be dead, therefore you can't vote for him.
Yeah, you can't. And I don't know if she doesn't get politics. She doesn't really get the disinterest or distaste for Trump, but I can't imagine like what was actually going through her head at that time. But so hopefully he's not dead in 13 years, and anything is possible. If Donald Trump can become president, anything is possible.
Well, look at Jimmy Carter. He's what, 250 years old? He's got overcame like 7 brain tumors.
Yeah,
he's still kicking.
I'll have to.
We have to remember that these guys, even after they're out of office, they get the best healthcare in the world.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So there's a couple other things that I want to talk. I want to mention. I want to talk about Texas. Texas is absolutely, for the first time in a long time, in play for Democrats.
Yeah, that's so shocking.
Houston. I mean,
Austin too.
Austin. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of liberal places in Texas, and like I mentioned briefly, they have over 10 million early votes already, and there was roughly 9 million people that voted it total in the 2016 election. 1.9 million people registered to vote over the past 4 years. Normally, that number would be like 700,000. And say what you want to, there's obviously it'll be close. It'll be, as close to 50-50 as it can get. You can say whatever you want to about Texas being a conservative state. That might still be the case, but every expert you talk to on either side, even Fox News, talks about how the more people register, the more people that vote, the worse it is for Donald Trump. And I think we are going to see that play out right in front of our eyes in Texas this year. I think this is the year. I'm going on record and saying I think this is the year that Texas turns blue.
I hope you're right, and I wish I had the confidence. That's all I can think about that. If
Texas turns blue, we don't have to. Biden doesn't have to win Florida or Pennsylvania or North Carolina. He can win Texas and Arizona, and that's it.
Yeah. Do you find yourself more stressed to know that you live in and go to school in states that could be like the deciding factor? I think that adds more anxiety. Like I suddenly have the weight of all of Pennsylvania on my shoulders.
Yeah, very much.
I was very much planning on registering to vote. Like I made sure to time my move to Florida so that I could vote in the primaries in Pennsylvania. But I was very much prepared to register and get everything transferred over to Florida, before COVID happened. Obviously that, then COVID happened, and then, I didn't know what I was going to do, but it turns out now I'm voting in Pennsylvania. So it's weird because I'm happy to vote in either state. I'm happy to be a part of, being part of a progressive movement in either state because they're both usually so very close and they can go either way. However, I think it speaks more to the problem that why is it 1 to 2 states every election cycle that decides who's going to run the country? Like why don't we have a system where every state matters just as much? Now I'm not saying like they should be equal as far as representation goes, because that's not what I'm saying. I like Bill Maher always says, like, why do we need 2 Dakotas? It's like my vote, like someone in South Dakota and someone like myself in Pennsylvania or Florida, our votes should count equally, but our system is not set up for that because my vote in Florida or Pennsylvania is worth way more than a vote in South Dakota because we already know which way South Dakota is going to go and what it's worth as far as the Electoral College goes.
Yeah, and I think that's why, especially a lot of people, I live in a college town, and just conversations had with neighbors, like th- they don't see the reason to vote. They say, "Well, my vote doesn't count," and they look at it as, well, it's going to go to the popular vote doesn't count, and it's all these reasons like why they won't vote because they don't think that they matter.
Yeah.
I'm like, but just do it out of principle. Like,
Right.
even if you have that, just still do it. It's amazing how many people don't utilize their right to vote, and not only for, the president election, but just the
Every
primaries or
election.
their local, like, who's going to be running for their state representative, who's going to be running for mayor, the amount of people that just don't vote.
Well, it's we're going to see a lot less of that group because I think we're estimating 160 million people voting, which is from what I heard the biggest number in 100 years, which is
Yeah.
that's fantastic. I hope it stays that way. But to your point, Wags, you're 100% right. But those people that say that their vote don't count are certifiably wrong. Even with the
Mm-hmm.
Electoral College, your vote counts because Pennsylvania was flipped to Donald Trump because of 44,000 votes.
Yeah.
We're talking a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of percent of the electorate that decided the election overall, not just Pennsylvania, but also Michigan, Wisconsin. A fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the electorate decided who was going to be president. So your vote
Mm-hmm.
does count. And like you said, the only time that your vote isn't a one-for-one type situation is the presidential election. Everything down ballot is popular vote.
Yeah.
So your vote does count, and all those are just as, if not more important, in the presidential race.
So when you went to vote today, did you go inside of a building, or did they have things set up outside for you?
They had a drop box outside
Okay.
for people that wanted to, fill out their mail-in ballot, but felt it was too late to put it in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I wanted to make sure my vote counted today. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure that there was no way it was going to be part of a group of contested votes
Yeah.
later on down the line. Not that I fault anybody for mailing in their vote. I totally respect it. I encourage it. I think the whole country should allow early voting and mail-in voting. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
allow as many ways to vote as possible. That is going to encourage more engagement. But for me, my choice was I wanted my vote to count. I don't want Donald Trump to declare victory because he has an early lead because most Democrats decided to mail in their vote. I wanted to be part of the keeping it as close as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I could have mailed in, I could have done any of that, but I don't know, it's an experience. It's
You
kind
like
of
pressing the
like
button?
yeah, well, mine is we filled ours in, and I had so much anxiety that I triple checked what I was filling in,
Mhm.
coloring the circle, and I was like, okay. And ours was outside, so we had three separate. I live in the borough of Westchester, so there were several different polling places, but mine was in a garage setting, but it was outdoors, and there were three spots. And I was so anxious I was going to fill out the wrong circle. Again, my vote was all of Pennsylvania. That was in my mind. I'm like, okay, I have to, and we got to keep the pen, which was great. Always use more of those, but it was I just wanted to be there. I just like the experience. I like the act of doing it, and it just felt so different. Walking up, I only had four people ahead of me in line, but walking up, it just felt surreal. I was walking into a different time zone, a
Yeah,
different place in life. Okay, I wish more people would think that their vote matters, their opinions on what they want the country to be and what they think is best for the country, even if it's not what I agree with. I'm just always surprised. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to vote, or why
yeah,
would you want me to vote if I'm going to vote for the person you're against?
because
Well,
that's how democracy
that's
is successful,
democracy,
right?
yeah. Um, but I think there are a lot of people that just kind of naysay, where they want to bitch about everything, but they don't want to do anything. Now I feel like I have the right to say what I want to say because I voted.
Yeah, there's very few ways that you can affect change on a grand scale
Mm-hmm.
and help decide the direction the entire country is going to go in. You could A, run for office yourself, which you're going to be expected to vote if you do so and encourage people
Mm-hmm.
to vote. Unless you're Donald Trump, then you're going to be expected to encourage people not to vote. And the second way is to vote. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your ways. And I'm not talking about doing charity and stuff like that. I'm talking about guiding the direction that of the country, choosing the people that make the decisions that out align with what you believe and push the country in the direction that you feel is best. Those are your two ways to affect change. Whether you think it matters or not, you should still do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the off chance that it does.
Yeah, like 2016. I know you guys talked about it earlier. I'm kind of anticipating that it's probably going to be a solid week before everything gets truly counted. Um, but I mean, it's still come, what is it, January 20th is when,
That's the inauguration. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, there's so much that can happen between now and then. And then when you throw in a pandemic and
Yeah.
how things are going in our country, it's a very scary time, but it's also like, as weird as it is, it's also like a very empowering time. Like people now know like your voice, your thoughts, they all matter and they all
Yeah.
count. But still wear
And
a mask.
I would be very surprised if you're wrong as far as knowing for sure. And we take this for granted. Every single election that we go through, the
Mm-hmm.
actual results are not confirmed until weeks after the election.
Yeah.
We just don't. We just have enough knowledge and technology to be able to predict with almost 100% accuracy as the votes start coming in. Once we have a certain percentage of each county, each state counted, we are able to say with 100% confidence who is going to be, who won that state, who won that county, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually who won the election. Up until maybe today, I was thinking the same thing. Like, we're not going to know. We're not going to know. No one's going to call it. No one's going to feel comfortable. I'm starting to change my tune here. North Carolina. Now, North Carolina, this is, I just heard this. North Carolina did have some technical issues that prevented some counties from opening up at their 6:30 time.
Yeah.
But only by 15 minutes. So they're going to, from what I understand, they're going to extend the voting time for people, which is good. I'm glad to hear that. But they were ready to start reporting. They were prepared to start reporting results or start to report results at around 7:30. So now that's going to be more like 8:15. So we're going to get the results. We're going to get a winner of North Carolina tonight, which is a swing state.
Yeah.
Again, if Biden wins that state, there's still ways for Trump to win. But if Biden wins North Carolina, that's a state that Hillary did not win in 2016. That one state alone, if everything else stays the same, makes it more difficult for Trump to win re-election right then and there. So Florida, I believe we're going to get an answer. It might not be too late, but I think we're going to get an answer on Florida tonight. If Biden wins North Carolina and Florida, even if none of the other states are going to be able to be called, if everything else stays the same and Biden wins North Carolina and Florida, I don't think there's a chance for him to even win the election. Like, what are we even talking about? Now, again, we might not get a hard call, but we can assume that just based on those two states alone, even if Pennsylvania, we don't know a week from now.
Yeah.
Trump has to win Florida and Pennsylvania to have a real clear path to victory, to a solid victory. If he doesn't win those two states, it's going to be very close, if not a complete landslide, both popular and electoral for Biden. Now, if Texas truly is in play, I mean, now we're talking, and Texas we could know tonight. Normally, we just assume it's going to go towards the Republican candidate.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's I mean, I've only been voting, my first presidential election was in 2012, I think. So not very long. I'm only 33. But I've never felt this way. And I think a lot of people, both sides of the spectrums, it's just a different it's just a different feeling, and people are actually like researching and like, oh, understanding what the electoral college is and understanding, how things work. And I think that's incredible. I think the best thing anyone can ever do is just to fill your head with knowledge, because it matters.
Yeah. Well,
But
and also, learn what's real and what's fake, because
yeah,
and there's a
there's
big
just
discrepancy there, which just
there's yeah,
adds to my anxiety
there's
and
so
my
much.
anger.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point, I was on Twitter before we got on here, and
Which
Twitter
is a
is
big mistake. We should talk about ways to stay sane during the next, because
yeah.
we're still talking maybe 10 hours before we really have some solid results to really talk about. We should talk about some ways to stay sane, but go ahead. Go ahead and finish your thought.
No, I was just gonna say that
One of them, stay
Twitter.
off Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter is a shit show to begin with. I mean, there is never a time to go on Twitter that you're going to not have some kind of argument with someone. That's just how it is, because it's a free for all.
Yeah.
Um, but people are just downright like nasty. Like, I hope your mom dies. Like, someone just
Right.
made a comment like, I'm voting for Joe. Like, vote for Joe. And it's like, I hope your mom dies. I'm like, is that where we're coming from? But
Yeah.
yeah, if there's anyone out there in the TEET army, that especially people that work in like mental health, like if you want to share some tips with us later on in another segment on how to keep our sanity, not only tonight but also the next couple days, the next couple weeks going
Next
forward,
couple
because
months.
yeah,
Leah said it. It's 72 days
yeah,
from today until Inauguration Day. We still have, 2.5 months of whatever's going to come. It's going to be 2.5 months of it left.
yeah.
That's scary. So I suggest, I don't know, have you started drinking yet, Wags? I have. This is my second stiff drink. I'm not drinking at an incredible pace, but I've also, I played with the dog outside. That helped a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Only watch bits and pieces of the news. Do not glue yourself
Yeah.
to the talking heads all day long. I mean, to us, you can, because we'll report what they're reporting for you, and in the
Yeah.
meantime,
Yes.
we'll have some conversation. But
Mm-hmm.
here we go. So we got Amy, friend of the show, says wine.
Wine. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait till my youngest goes to bed tonight, and then I will. That's probably when it's gonna get the worst. It's about that 7:30, 8 o'clock time frame. So I will probably be opening up a bottle of wine, and I'm not a
Okay,
drinker, so that could probably be the end of me.
right. Well, we'll
I will be on Twitter.
hopefully we'll witness whatever that bottle of wine has in store for us. We'll be able to witness that
Yeah.
live throughout the night tonight. I'm expecting some really great debates, some really good conversations. We'll keep this going for another 10 minutes or so. But look, if anybody's listening out there and you want to chime in and talk about what you're experiencing out there, especially if you're in a different part of the country, a different state than we are in, or a different part of the state. If you're in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, chances are you're
Mm-hmm.
experiencing even longer wait times. We would love to hear from you and what you're experiencing there. And if you are one of those people and you don't feel like talking about it, if you're the ones waiting in line for 6 or 7 hours, thank you. You are patriots. You
Oh
are
yeah, absolutely.
doing way more than we could ever imagine, because we come from this not secluded, but we come from an area where we've never been afforded the opportunity to have to wait 7 or
Mm-hmm.
8 hours to make our voice heard. Meanwhile, you're doing it every election cycle, and
Yeah.
that's just incredible. So thank you for all the people that are waiting in such long lines.
Especially people in bigger cities that are waiting, and there's already hostile things going on. Scott Gallagher commented that that he was down in Philly and they had things boarded up. But
Mhm.
there were people that did voted early and they still waited for 2 hours in line. I
Yeah.
have a friend of mine voted on, I think, the 13th of October and was in line for 2 hours.
Well, that's incredible too. Like, so many people taking advantage of the early voting that we have.
Mm-hmm.
They're waiting 2, 3, 4 hours. I've heard 6 hours in places like Atlanta, where they're constantly trying to suppress the vote and make people wait for an endless amount of time.
Yeah. Amy said that her sister waited over 2 hours. Yeah, I brought snacks and stuff for the kids to play with. I thought we were going to be there.
Typical mom. I brought
Yeah.
nothing. I was freezing. I was shaking. I had nothing to drink. I had nothing to do. I didn't have my earbuds. I couldn't listen to music. All I did was people watch. I just turned around and stared at people. And they probably thought I was insane.
You should have just played the Ever Evolving Truth, the Bill Cosby
I should
episode
have.
that
Yes,
dropped today.
I should have.
Everyone.
I wore my White Horse gear, and no one
There
even
you go.
asked about it. Those fuckers.
Nobody
care.
wants to know why the guy.
Why do you? Why? Yeah, you don't want to know why there's a big profile of a horse on my shirt.
Ooh, I was worried that I have a shirt that I wanted to wear that's it could be a little politically minded, and I was like, well, I don't want to get there and then be like, oh, you can't wear that or whatever. So I was like, okay. So then I wore this camouflage shirt, and I'm like, they probably think I'm some Republican, you know, getting ready to go hunt in the woods afterwards.
Right, or hunt libtards.
Yeah, I was like, I'm here to take them all out. You got to blend in.
Well, I see some people posting that they took some pictures or overheard some conversations. Look, if you wanna share that stuff on social media, make sure you use the hashtag Vote Forever. It's vote, it's hashtag vote the number 4 and then the word ever. That way we can kind of organize everything. We can feature things on our website. We're trying to hijack that hashtag, if you will. So again, it's hashtag vote the number 4 ever. Post your pictures of you voting. Post pictures of your stickers. I tell you what, I'm excited. I got my first sticker ever. I've been voting since I think the first time I voted was 24, 25. But I never got a sticker. Everybody always posts pictures of them getting the I voted sticker or even a sticker with their number on it. And I never got one. Today I got one. I was so excited. I got a sticker boner, if you will.
Now this is a new place that I voted this year because we moved, but we always got like the printout of what your number was and then the I voted. But this is really, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
I really like these.
Hold on, let me put you on the big screen here. Here we go.
Look how cool that is.
Right, that's a pretty in-depth sticker.
Yeah. And
that's a nice one.
And we got one and they gave one to all 3 of the kids. So I saved one because I'm like, either way, this is going in. I'm going to have to start scrapbooking. I'm going to have to do something. I'm going to put the sticker on my empty bottle of wine at the end of the night. And that will be
there you go.
My souvenir from this election. But yeah, you guys and if you want us to share your post on our Facebook or Instagram stories, you can send it, just say, hey, put this on there because we love it. And I think it's the one time where selfies, an abnormal amount of selfies is acceptable as long as you have your I voted sticker.
Right. Or it's WAGs. You post a lot of selfies on the MAMS page. So
I do because I want people to see me.
So right. Essentially a selfie. So you're allowed to post selfies, but if other people do it, it's an abnormal amount.
Well, I only do it for MAM. I'm a content creator, okay? My content is my face sometimes, all right? I'm not putting inspirational quotes with them like, I am woman, hear me roar. I'm just like, hey.
Here's me doing
nothing.
Here's
It's just me. Narcissistic.
Here, Brittany comments, my boyfriend just told me he voted with no weight, and it was a ghost town pretty much, probably because everyone is still at work and those lines will form like crazy again once about. I agree. There was definitely a big rush in the morning. What I found is, I very, very rarely vote in the morning, especially early in the morning. I'm never like one of the first people to get there. I never felt the need to because I didn't have to worry about waiting in line or anything. This year I felt compelled to go a little bit earlier than I normally would. So I think after this is over, I might take the dog and we might go for a drive and see what the line is at my polling place. I'm just curious, but I would agree with you. I would agree with you, Brittany. There was probably a very big rush in the early part of the day, and it always dies down in the middle of the day, and then there's a big rush. What I noticed is that the rush in the morning was way larger than it normally is.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are actually back to work now. If this were 2 months ago, I think it'd be more of a middle of the day heavy stream. We went right before lunch, which was, I think, the key. But I think that's a good idea. I think maybe the kids and I will take a walk in another couple of hours just to see
Now,
where the line goes.
you live close to the Westchester campus.
Yes.
Did you notice a lot of college students voting? Were they out and about, or?
No, it was weird because where I live, there's a lot of kids that walk by, and I've only seen two today. And when we were walking up to vote, we went by some student housing, off-campus student housing, and they're always out there. And there wasn't anyone there. It was just weird. So when I got there, there were two or three younger people behind me in line, and the people that were ahead of me were all older. I did feel bad for this woman. She kind of didn't understand what she was supposed to do, and they're like, we got to go over there, and she like stood right at where you get your ballot, and they were like, no, you need to go do it like at this little private area. And she's like, well, I'll just do it here. And they're like, you can't vote in front of us. you, you have to go over there. And I'm like, okay, let's go. And I'm like feeding my kids Skittles. I'm like, okay, as I'm panicking that I'm picking out the wrong person. I'm like, what if I leave and I vote for the wrong people?
So I think Amy sent me a picture earlier about her from her polling place, which the line was huge, and now she's saying it's empty. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing here a little bit. But I think we're gonna call it quits for now, because I'd like to get back on here maybe around 4:30 for a half hour. Then we'll take a break at 5, eat dinner, whatever we have to do, and do like a 6 to 8 segment if possible. And for the 6 to 8 segment, I think that's when we're going to have on Jordan. We're going to have on Alex. Justin's going to be on with us a little bit later. Hopefully, Leah's done voting by then. Andy's done with his haircut. Chris is done with her meeting. So we're going to have a lot of people coming in and out. And then also later on, when Greg gets off of work at our 9 o'clock segment, he'll be on with us as well. And I'm really curious to see what he experienced and what his thoughts are on some of the news that came out throughout the day here. But I will say it one more time. If you're just checking in now, first of all, if you want to share your experience with us, please reach out to us. We'll let you come on if you have a good internet connection. If you have a quiet place, we'll be happy to have you on and talk election stuff with you. And you can give us your prediction, what you're doing to stay calm. And if you can't, that's fine. Comment. If you want to share pictures with us, make sure you use the hashtag vote the number 4 ever. And other than that, hopefully we see you at 4:30. And we're going to start getting results tonight. I don't know if we're going to get an actual definitive answer, but we're going to start getting some results, which might clear up the path and clear up we might see a way that either candidate is going to win. So do what you need to do. Take a nap, relax, open up a bottle of wine, smoke some weed, do whatever you need to do. We will see you back here in a little bit. Until then, this has been the Ever Evolving Truth. Thank you, Wags, for joining us here. And we will see you soon.